asking permission to work in this beautiful place. Yeah. So that was a calling in. That's how I begin. That's a form of conscious prayer, really. And prayer has a bit of a strange name because it's associated with religion. But really, it's a way of directly talking to the universe, connecting with the universe, with nature, and the spirit. And that is the basis of my heart, of everything that I do. Yeah. So yeah. And I work with, we're talking about goddess. I did call in the Cailleach.
I heard you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the thing is that when you call them, they come. They really do come, and you have to call. They don't. You literally have to use the voice.
And can you feel them when they come?
Yeah. Sometimes it's very clear. Move through. Sometimes it's very clear. Yes, it's like awakening place and awakening an energy within myself, and I feel it when it's there, and also before we leave, we have to thank and release them as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and the sound is very important. So it wasn't the tune. I was humming, singing.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. What is it?
Just I go with whatever's present. I don't. That's a big part of how I work, is not to plan anything. So I would say that's the energy that's here, and I was giving it sound. I was giving it form.
And it's interesting because I think more and more at the moment, certainly we're learning that sound is sort of the basis of everything. Like a full energy. So to say that you can kind of sing the land.
Absolutely. Few things are coming to mind, but the thing that people sometimes refer to in the Bible, in the beginning was the word.
Yes.
In the beginning was sound.
Yeah.
Sound was the first frequency. I think we're moving into a time where we understand that we are energy, that we are frequency,
Absolutely.
that we are vibration, and so that is almost like a higher way to connect things, because sometimes when we come down into mind, we come down into what I call the lower mind. And it's not so connected with soul or with spirit. It doesn't mean that we can't do it with words, but the sound really elevates it.
What sound would you relate to Cailleach?
I'm just going to tune in and ask her. Is it all right?
Yeah.
So what sound would she make? Well, what I'm hearing is, I was the first to cry upon the wind. So I think it's something so ancient and primordial that actually we can't even imagine it. I think it's the sound of the earth. I feel it's the sound of the earth. And when I say the earth, I mean all the elements combined. So, but something very ancient. I think we hear it. I tell you where I think we hear it. sometimes in, in Ireland general, in the old channel singing.
Oh, gorgeous! Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I think that is part of her sound. And what I hear her saying is, if you sit with the land long enough, you'll hear my sound. So it is about being in communion with the land.
I actually, it just made me think, like, I was listening to a podcast last night about Cailleach, and they were talking about how the name came to be related with loudness and sound itself, so that actually a lot of places that are, there's this guy who's kind of got a thesis on it, and he said if you look at where places that are named after Cailleach and something, they are loud places. They are places where nature is at its loudest. And I love that, actually. Because for me, I feel like that's what she embodies. She embodies a woman who isn't going to be quiet, who is going to speak, is going to give her voice.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And the Cailleach is that wild, the overused word, wild.
Yeah.
Everything is wild right now. But she is that essential part of ourselves which cannot be tamed, cannot be named. Just pure wild. Yeah.
We all need that, don't we?
Especially now, when we're living in a time where there are perhaps a lot of restrictions on our freedoms. Absolutely, she would be very vocal.
And I'm just thinking, like, it might be nice if you could give me your definition of what she is. Who is she?
Oh yeah.
I feel like maybe we all see her in sort of different ways because the lore around her is.
That's right. Well, the lore is infinite, really, isn't it? Like, you hear, as often in Ireland, so many different versions of the same story,
Yes.
the same poem, the same song. So similarly with her, and I feel she's a very powerful mirror. I feel like she will mirror back to you the truth, according to what you can handle, if you know what I'm saying. I do feel she's very fierce. She wouldn't suffer fools gladly. I feel like she'll give you, if you want to work with her, yeah, you kind of got to be brave. She's fierce. She really is fierce. And beautiful at the same time. There's that thing of truth is beauty and beauty is truth, do you know? Strong. She's strong.
Yeah. And I actually, like, something I really wanted to talk to you is your work with her. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, in some ways I feel like she calls you, if that makes sense, because again, I didn't really plan it. It just ended up working in Castletown, Castletown Bear.
Okay. I think that's interesting because Beara itself must be related to her.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Hagabear and all of that.
Yeah, and Cailleach Beara is another name for her.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's her domain. And yes, I ended up holding a workshop there, which was really fascinating. I feel like a big part of her teaching is also about going beyond death, and that's something we kind of explored throughout the weekend. Again, not intentionally. I really like that idea of just turning up and surrendering to what is needed, what will come, what needs to come forward. And I remember the hair. She's associated with the hair. And I remember walking down to the group I was working with one morning, and there was this hair just sitting up, straight up, looking out to sea as I passed her by. She didn't move. She wasn't afraid. And I just felt very guided by her all of that weekend. And I think I might have mentioned with you as well, I had journeyed with her with the drum, and I'd gone in to meet her face to face. And I think I told you that she kept changing. She kept getting older and older and older. In fact, I think it said that when humans first arrived in Ireland, she was already here. So she's just, and I could see that in her, it was almost frightening. It wasn't like the cutesy old woman or lovely old elder or something. It was just this ancient woman. It's hard to say. Actually, being honest with you, when I really think about her face, it was like her face was made of stone.
Oh wow.
Yeah, her face was made of the land. I felt like she is also an invitation to move into silence. I feel like she's very associated with that feminine cave part of ourselves. Do you know, where we need to retreat from the world? And it's very much the opposite of how we're living our lives at the moment. And sometimes I feel like we feel like we're failing, or things are going wrong if we're retreating into that inner space, where actually that's where our greatest power lies. And you know, we're in the cave, we're in the womb. Yeah, I feel like that is connected, you know, when I'm talking about the repression of that to the repression of the female. And it's almost as if it was known, hang on, if they go there, they might get to know themselves.
Yeah. I feel the exact same.
And they may not fear themselves, and they may not fear to go into the cave. I think it was Joseph Campbell said something about the cave. What is it? The cave you seek to find is the treasure you have within, or you seek within, or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's where our greatest riches is, you know?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think a lot about the witch wound that we all.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the main things that we suffer from, is that we're taught not to trust our own intuition, because that was made evil and bad.
Yeah.
You know, and we've really sort of lost ourselves, our sense of self.
That's right.
And it feels in Ireland at least that, like, you know, we were both at the Connon again.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about an awakening in Ireland.
That's right.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, having come back from London thinking about this project and then actually being here, the amount of people that were like talking about like what I was thinking about and everything, it was really interesting. It does feel like there is something going on here that I don't know what. But
Oh, I agree. And it's connected to the bigger picture, I think, of the divine feminine returning to the world. But in Ireland, you're absolutely right. It feels like there is a reawakening, a kind of a renaissance of an appreciation of who we are, where we come from, our language, everything that's been taken, actually.
yeah,
And
taking it back.
claiming it, absolutely. And it's, you know, there's a lot of wounding there. And there's a healing process going on with that. And a lot of us, myself, you know, I feel very, I would have struggled with the language. I do struggle with speaking the language. And I feel a lot of loss, you know, around that. A deep loss around that. And a disempowerment. And sometimes I get, what is it, like Gael get envy.
Yeah.
And they're all speaking so easily.
Absolutely.
Whoever they are.
But it's like in a weird way as well, because I when I initially started thinking about this, and I was thinking along the lines of the witch, the mythology, or anything, the main thing I focused on was like how what was taken from us was like the connection to the land. But like then I discovered that really that was she was like the connection to the land. She is the land, and I was, you know, within the whole context of the Irish language, it's like there was so much knowledge in the language of the land, of this like ancient wisdom of stories, of everything that spoke to how we connected to the land. And I think that's a big part of what we've lost through losing the language.
Absolutely. Place names. Oh, there's just layers and layers, really, isn't there? There's a lot of clearing going on, it feels like.
Yeah. And I wonder what you think maybe the Cailleach can kind of teach us about moving into a more connected way of being.
I feel once you have the intention to work with her, she'll come, and it will be very individual. And I do get the feeling that, particularly if you go to, I mean, you don't strictly have to, but if you go to places like Buried, you know, where you have a very strong energy, I feel like she will teach you what you need to know. everybody comes with their own particular soul journey. But then there are other things collectively, and I feel like doing something like this, a newer project, there can be something creatively explored there in the broader. I feel like she would also bring that too.